The morning sun cast long shadows across the mining colony of New Denver. Jake Morrison stood in the maintenance bay, staring at the broken robot that had protected his people for 5 years. Unit 7 lay on its back like a fallen giant. Its metal body was 12 feet tall and weighed more than a small truck. The robot's blue lights were dark now. Silent Jake rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept well in 3 days. Not since Unit 7 stopped working. The robot was their only defense against the creatures that lived underground. Every month, when the 3 moons blocked out the sun, the creatures came up from their caves. They were hungry and angry. Without Unit 7, 800 people would die. Any news from the repair team? Jake asked. Lisa Rodriguez, the colony's chief engineer, shook her head. She was a smart woman who had studied on Earth's best schools. Her team had the most advanced tools and computers. But they could not fix Unit 7. The quantum core is damaged, Lisa said. We cannot repair it with what we have here. The technology is too advanced. It was made by aliens who are smarter than us. Jake felt his stomach drop. The eclipse storm would come in 3 days. When the moons covered the sun, the underground creatures would wake up. They would smell human blood and come hunting. Unit 7 had always stopped them before. But now the robot was just a pile of expensive metal. What about calling for help from Earth? Jake asked. A rescue ship would take 6 weeks to get here. Lisa said, We do not have 6 weeks. We have 3 days. Other colonists had gathered around the maintenance bay. They pressed their faces against the windows, looking at their broken protector. Some people were crying. Others were angry. Children held their parents' hands tight. There has to be something we can do, Jake said. We tried everything, Lisa replied. The alien technology is beyond our understanding. We are just humans trying to fix a machine made by gods. That was when Danny Walsh spoke up from the back of the room. Maybe I could take a look at it. Everyone turned to stare at him. Danny was 42 years old with rough hands and oil stains on his clothes. He fixed farm equipment and air processors. He was not a real engineer like Lisa and her team. He had learned his skills working in small towns on Earth, not in fancy schools. Lisa laughed, but it was not a kind laugh. Danny, this is not a broken tractor. This is quantum technology. You would not even know where to start. I fix things, Danny said simply. That is what I do. This is different, Lisa said. This robot was built by the architects. They were an alien race that disappeared 1 million years ago. Their technology uses quantum fields and exotic matter. It is not like anything humans have ever built. Danny walked closer to Unit 7. He looked at the robot's chest where the main power core was housed. The metal was smooth and silver, covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly even when the robot was off. Maybe, Danny said. But all machines work the same way at their heart. Something goes in, something happens, something comes out. Energy flows from one place to another. Moving parts do their job. It does not matter if it was made by humans or aliens. The other engineers in the room started to whisper among themselves. Some of them laughed quietly. Who was this simple mechanic? To think he could fix what they could not? Jake Morrison was desperate. His people were counting on him to keep them safe. He had tried everything else. What harm could it do to let Danny try? Okay, Jake said. You can look at it, but do not break anything else. Lisa stepped forward. Jake, this is crazy. Danny could damage the robot beyond any hope of repair. At least now we have spare parts. If he starts taking things apart. What? Good are spare parts if we are all dead? Jake asked. Let him try. Danny nodded and walked over to his toolbox. It was an old metal box that had seen better days. Inside were wrenches and screwdrivers, a plasma cutter, and magnetic clamps. The tools were simple, but well used. Danny had owned some of them for 20 years. He knelt down beside Unit 7 and placed his hand on the robot's chest. The metal was warm to the touch. Even broken, the robot still had some power running through its systems. "Hello there, big fellow," Danny said quietly. "Let's see what is wrong with you." The other engineers watched as Danny began to examine the robot. They expected him to give up quickly. The technology was too complex for someone with his limited education. But Danny did not give up. He studied the robot's surface, looking for access panels and connection points. After an hour, Danny found what he was looking for, hidden beneath. A section of armor plating was a maintenance hatch. It was small and easy to miss. The engineers had found bigger access points, but they had missed this one. Danny opened the hatch and looked inside. What he saw made him smile for the first time in days. The robot's internal structure was complex, but it followed patterns he recognized. There were power lines and control circuits, cooling systems and moving parts. It was more advanced than anything he had worked on before, but the basic ideas were the same. "I think I can help you," Danny said to the silent robot. Outside, the first moon was already rising in the afternoon sky. In 3 days, all 3 moons would block the sun. The creatures would come. But for the first time since Unit 7 had broken down, someone had hoped. Danny Walsh, the mechanic nobody believed in, was about to prove that sometimes the simplest approach was the best approach, even when dealing with alien technology that was a million years more advanced than anything humans had ever built. Danny Walsh spent the entire night studying Unit 7. While the other colonists slept, he crawled around the giant robot with a small flashlight. He traced power lines with his fingers. He listened to the quiet hums and clicks that came from deep inside the machine. To everyone else, Unit 7 was completely silent. But Danny heard the robot's mechanical heartbeat. By morning, a crowd had gathered outside the maintenance bay. Word had spread that the colony's simple mechanic was trying to fix their guardian robot. Some people were hopeful. Others thought Danny was wasting precious time they did not have. Lisa Rodriguez arrived early with her team of engineers. They set up their computers and scanners around the robot. The machines beeped and showed colorful displays full of numbers and graphs. "The quantum resonance is completely unstable," Lisa announced. "The exotic matter containment field has collapsed. We are looking at a complete system failure." Dr. Helen Carter, the colony's expert on alien technology, nodded in agreement. She was a thin woman with gray hair who had spent her whole career studying architect machines. "The quantum processing core is the most advanced piece of technology humans have ever found. It thinks faster than 1,000 human brains working together. But it is also very fragile. One small mistake and the whole system shuts down forever." Danny looked up from where he was working. His hands were black with strange alien oil. "What does it do? This quantum core?" Dr. Carter seemed surprised by the question. "It controls everything. A robot's movements, its weapons, its shields. It makes thousands of calculations every second." "So it is like a brain," Danny said. "Not exactly," Dr. Carter replied. "A brain is biological. This is pure quantum energy contained in exotic matter. It operates on principles we barely understand." Danny went back to his work. He had removed several panels from Unit 7's chest and was looking at the maze of wires and tubes inside. The other engineers watched him with growing alarm. "Danny, what are you doing?" Lisa asked. "Those are primary power conduits. If you disconnect the wrong one—" "I am following the energy," Danny said, "like following a river to find where it starts." He used his plasma cutter to remove a section of internal armor. The engineers gasped. Danny was using a tool meant for cutting through steel beams to perform delicate surgery on alien technology. You are going to destroy it. Dr. Carter exclaimed. That plasma cutter is far too crude for this kind of work. We need precision laser tools. Sometimes the best tool is the one that works, Danny replied. He continued cutting, his hands steady, despite the protests from the watching scientist Dot. As Danny worked deeper into the robot's body, he began to see patterns. The quantum core was not just floating by itself. It was connected to other systems through a network of what looked like mechanical regulators. These devices were smaller than Danny's fist, but they seemed to control how energy flowed through the robot. Look at this, Danny said, pointing to one of the small devices. This little thing here. It is like a governor on an old steam engine. Lisa looked at her scanner readouts. That is a harmonic stabilizer. It regulates quantum field interactions. Sure, Danny said, but it does the same job as a governor. It keeps things from going too fast or too slow. Dr. Carter shook her head. Danny, you cannot compare architect technology to human machines. The architects were millions of years ahead of us. Their understanding of quantum mechanics is beyond anything we can imagine. Maybe, Danny said, but I bet they had the same problems we do. How do you make energy go where you want it to go? How do you control moving parts? How do you keep things from breaking when they work too hard? Danny found what he was looking for deep in Unit 7's chest cavity. One of the harmonic stabilizers was cracked down the middle. It was a small crack, easy to miss unless you knew what to look for. But Danny could see that this tiny break was causing problems throughout the robot's entire system. Here is your problem, Danny announced. This little part is broken. The engineers crowded around to look. Their scanners confirmed what Danny had found. The damaged stabilizer was creating feedback loops in the quantum field. The robot's brain was trying to work, but it could not synchronize with the robot's body. We cannot fix that, Lisa said. We do not have replacement parts for architect technology. We do not need architect parts, Danny replied. We need something that does the same job. He walked over to a pile of broken equipment in the corner of the maintenance bay. Old atmospheric processors, broken mining equipment, and damaged farming. Machines were stacked there, waiting to be recycled. Danny began digging through the pile. What are you looking for? Jake Morrison asked. The colony administrator had been watching Danny work all morning. Something that can regulate flow, Danny said. Something that can keep energy moving at the right speed. He found what he needed in an old air recycling unit. It was a simple mechanical valve designed to control the flow of gas through a filtration system. The valve was made of basic human materials, steel and ceramic, nothing exotic. You cannot be serious, Dr. Carter said when she saw what Danny was holding. You want to put a primitive human part into the most advanced machine in the galaxy? It does the same job, Danny said. It controls flow. It regulates pressure. It keeps things stable. But the harmonic stabilizer uses quantum field manipulation. Dr. Carter protested. Your valve is just basic mechanical engineering. Maybe that is what it needs, Danny replied. He began modifying the valve with his tools. He used his plasma cutter to reshape the metal. He rewired the control circuits to match the robot's systems. The work was careful and precise. Even though his tools looked crude compared to the engineer's equipment, the crowd outside the maintenance bay had grown larger. Word was spreading that the mechanic was actually making progress. Some people were excited. Others were terrified that Danny would make things worse. As Danny worked, the second moon rose in the sky. They now had less than 2 days before the eclipse storm. Less than 2 days before the creatures would come up from their underground homes to hunt. Even if your valve works, Lisa said, how do you know it will not damage the quantum core? We could lose everything. Danny looked at the broken robot. Unit 7 had protected these people for 5 years. Without it, they would all die when the creatures came. What was the point of having a perfect robot if it could not work? Sometimes, you have to take risks, Danny said. Sometimes the safe choice is the most dangerous choice of all. He finished preparing his makeshift replacement part. It was rough and simple compared to the original architect technology, but it was also solid and reliable. It would do its job. Without failing? Ready? Danny asked. Jake Morrison nodded. Do it. Danny began installing his human-made valve into the alien robot's quantum heart. The engineers held their breath as the simple mechanic performed surgery on technology that was supposed to be beyond human understanding. But Danny was not thinking about how advanced the technology was. He was thinking about energy and flow, about moving parts and control systems. He was thinking about the basic principles that made all machines work, whether they were built by humans or aliens. The valve clicked into place. For a moment, nothing happened. Then deep inside Unit 7's chest, a small light began to glow. The small light inside Unit 7's chest grew brighter. Danny watched as more lights began to flicker on throughout the robot's body. His simple valve was working. Energy was flowing again through the alien machine systems. Impossible, Doctor, Carter whispered. Her scanners were showing readings she had never seen before. The quantum core was responding to Danny's mechanical valve in ways that made no scientific sense. Lisa Rodriguez checked her instruments 3 times. The quantum field is stabilizing, she announced, sounding confused. But this should not be possible. A mechanical valve cannot interface with quantum technology. Maybe it does not need to interface, Danny said. He was still working inside the robot's chest, making small adjustments to his valve. Maybe it just needs to do its job. More systems came online as Danny fine-tuned his repair. The robot's optical sensors flickered to life, casting blue light across the maintenance bay. Unit 7's fingers twitched, then slowly curled into fists. The massive machine was trying to move. Everyone stand back, Jake Morrison ordered. The crowd pressed against the windows as the 12-foot robot began to stir. Unit 7's head turned slowly from side to side. Its optical sensors focused on different parts of the room, scanning and recording. When the robot's gaze fell on Danny, it stopped moving. For a long moment, human and machine looked at each other. Then Unit 7 sat up. The movement was smooth and controlled, unlike the jerky motions the robot had made before its breakdown. Danny's valve was not just fixing the problem, it was making the robot work better than it had before. Incredible, Dr. Carter said, staring at her readings. The quantum processing efficiency has increased by 30%. The harmonic resonance is more stable than I have ever seen it. Unit 7 stood up completely, rising to its full 12-foot height. The robot moved with fluid grace, testing its joints and systems. Its weapons powered up briefly, then powered down. Everything was working perfectly. How? Lisa asked. How is a primitive mechanical valve improving quantum technology? Danny climbed out from inside the robot's chest cavity. He was covered in oil and metal shavings, but he was smiling. Sometimes simple is better, he said. Sometimes you do not need to be fancy. You just need to work. The robot turned toward Danny and did something that shocked everyone in the room. Unit 7 extended its hand in what could only be seen as a gesture of gratitude. The machine was thanking its repair. Man, outside, the crowd erupted in cheers. Their guardian was working again. They were safe from the creatures that would come with the eclipse storm. But Danny was not done yet. He had more work to do. The valve is just a temporary fix, Danny explained to Jake Morrison. I need to make some other changes to make sure it keeps working properly. What kind of changes? Jake asked. The robot was designed to work with quantum regulators, Danny said. Now it has one mechanical regulator mixed in with the quantum ones. I need to make sure they all work together smoothly. Danny spent the next 12 hours making modifications throughout Unit 7's body. He replaced 3 more damaged quantum regulators with mechanical alternatives. Each time, the robot's performance improved. Dr. Carter followed Danny around with her scanners, trying to understand what was happening. This defies everything we know about architect technology, she muttered. Quantum systems should reject mechanical interfaces. Maybe the architects were not so different from us, Danny suggested. Maybe they understood that the best solution is often the simplest solution. As Danny worked, he began to understand something important about Unit 7. The robot was not just a machine. It was a partnership between different types of technology. The original architects had built quantum processors to handle complex calculations. But they had also included mechanical systems to handle basic functions. Look at this, Danny said, showing Dr. Carter a section of the robot's leg. These are mechanical actuators. Simple hydraulics, just like we use in our construction equipment. The architects used quantum technology for thinking, but mechanical technology for moving. But why? Dr. Carter asked. They had quantum technology. Why would they use primitive mechanical systems? Because mechanical systems are reliable, Danny explained. They do not break down as easily. They can be repaired with simple tools. They work even when conditions are not perfect. Danny's theory was proven right as he continued his repairs. The robot's most basic functions, walking, lifting, maintaining balance, were all controlled by mechanical systems. The quantum processors handled the complex decision-making, but the mechanical systems did the actual work. The architects were smart, Danny said. They knew that the best technology is technology that works when you need it most. By the time Danny finished his repairs, Unit 7 was running better than it had in years. The robot moved with perfect coordination. Its systems operated at peak efficiency. And most importantly, it was ready to defend the colony. The final test came when Jake Morrison activated the robot's combat protocols. Unit 7's weapons powered up smoothly. Its shields activated without any problems. Its tactical systems came online and began scanning for threats. All systems are functioning within normal parameters, the robot announced in its deep, mechanical voice, ready for defensive operations. The colonists cheered again. Their guardian was not just repaired. It was improved. Danny's simple mechanical fixes had made the advanced alien technology work better than ever before. But the real test would come with the eclipse storm. In 18 hours, the 3 moons would block out the sun. The underground creatures would wake up and come hunting. Unit 7 would have to prove that Danny's repairs would hold up under real combat conditions. "Thank you," Jake Morrison said to Danny. "You saved us all." Danny looked at Unit 7, standing tall and ready to fight. "I just fixed what was broken," he said. "Sometimes that is all you need to do." Dr. Carter approached Danny with a new respect in her eyes. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I thought your methods were too simple for architect technology. I was wrong." "Different does not mean wrong," Danny replied. "The architects built good machines. They just needed a little human touch to make them work even better." As the day ended and the eclipse storm grew closer, Danny felt satisfied with his work. He had not just repaired a robot. He had proven that human knowledge and alien technology could work together. Sometimes the best solution came not from the most advanced science, but from the most basic understanding of how machines worked. Unit 7 stood guard over the colony, ready to face whatever came from the underground caverns. And Danny Walsh, the mechanic nobody had believed in, had shown that sometimes the simplest approach was the most effective approach of all. The 3 moons began to move across the sun just after midnight. Danny Walsh stood on the colony's observation deck, watching as the bright daylight slowly faded to an eerie twilight. The eclipse storm was starting. Unit 7 stood at the colony's outer perimeter, motionless as a statue. The robot's sensors were scanning the ground, listening for the first signs of movement from the underground creatures. Danny had spent the last few hours making final adjustments to his repairs. Everything was ready. "How long do we usually have?" "After the eclipse starts?" Danny asked Jake Morrison. "About an hour," Jake replied. "The creatures need time to wake up and find their way to the surface. But once they start coming up, they come fast." The colony's 800 residents had gathered in the central buildings for safety. Children pressed their faces against reinforced windows, watching their mechanical guardian. Some of the adults looked nervous, but most seemed confident. Unit 7 had never failed them before. Danny felt different. This was the first eclipse storm since he had repaired the robot. His simple mechanical valves and regulators were about to face their ultimate test. What if they failed? What if his crude repairs broke down when the colony needed them most? "Stop worrying," Lisa Rodriguez said, joining Danny on the observation deck. "Your repairs are solid. The robot is running better than it has in years." "Running well in the maintenance bay is different from fighting for real," Danny replied. "Combat puts stress on systems in ways that regular operation does not." Lisa nodded. She had been skeptical of Danny's methods, but she could not argue with the results. Unit 7 was performing at levels that exceeded its original specifications. The mechanical regulators were somehow making the quantum systems work more efficiently. The first signs of trouble came 43 minutes after the eclipse began. Unit 7's sensors detected vibrations in the ground near the old mining shafts. The creatures were waking up. "Movement detected," Unit 7 announced to the colony's communication system. "Multiple contacts approaching from underground." Jake activated the colony's emergency protocols. All external lights were turned off. Emergency barriers sealed. The building entrances. The colonists moved away from windows and gathered in the strongest parts of each building. "How many are there?" Jake asked to his radio. Unit 7 sensors swept the area around the colony. 15 contacts confirmed. Standard crawler-class organisms. No unusual readings detected. Danny felt some relief. 15 creatures was a normal-sized attack group. Unit 7 had handled larger groups before without any problems. His repairs should be more than adequate for a standard assault. The first crawler emerged from a mining shaft 200 yards from the colony's main buildings. It was the size of a small car, with 6 legs ending in razor-sharp claws. Its body was covered in thick, armored plates. Acid dripped from its mandibles, hissing where it hit the ground. Unit 7 moved to intercept the creature with smooth, confident strides. The robot's energy weapons powered up, casting blue light across the barren landscape. Danny watched as his mechanical regulators controlled the power flow to the weapons systems. Everything was working perfectly. The first energy blast hit the crawler center mass, sending it tumbling backward. But the creature was not dead. It scrambled back to its feet and charged at Unit 7 with surprising speed. More crawlers emerged from other mining shafts around the colony. Soon 15 creatures were attacking from multiple directions. Unit 7 began moving with fluid grace, engaging each threat with calculated precision. Danny watched the battle with growing amazement. The robot was not just fighting, it was dancing. Each movement flowed smoothly into the next. The quantum processors calculated optimal strategies, while the mechanical systems executed them with perfect timing. "Look at those coordination readings," Dr. Carter said, checking her instruments. "The robot's motor control is operating at efficiency levels I have never seen before. The mechanical regulators are giving it better body control," Danny explained. The quantum brain is smart, but mechanical systems understand movement and balance better. One of the larger crawlers managed to get close enough to Unit 7 to attack with its claws. The creature's acid-enhanced talons scraped across the robot's armor, leaving deep gouges in the metal. But Unit 7 adapted instantly, grabbing the creature and throwing it away with a perfectly timed judo move. Where did it learn to do that? Lisa asked in amazement. It did not learn it, Danny said. It figured it out. The mechanical systems are giving the quantum brain new ways to think about physical problems. The battle continued for 20 minutes. Unit 7 systematically defeated each crawler with weapons fire, physical combat, or tactical maneuvering. The robot's energy never seemed to flag. Its movements never became sluggish. Danny's regulators were keeping all systems running at peak performance. But then something unexpected happened. The ground began to shake more violently. Unit 7's sensors detected a new contact emerging from the deepest mining shaft. This was not a normal crawler. The creature that emerged was twice the size of the others. Its armored shell was thicker and darker. Most importantly, it seemed to absorb Unit 7's energy blasts without taking any damage. The robot's most powerful. Weapons had no effect on this new threat. What is that thing? Jake asked through the radio. Unknown organism, Unit 7 replied. Energy weapons ineffective. Switching to alternative combat protocols. Danny watched as the massive creature charged toward the colony's main buildings. Unit 7 moved to intercept it, but without energy. Weapons, the robot would have to fight hand-to-hand against something that weighed as much as a small building. The quantum processors are struggling, Dr. Carter reported. They have no data on this type of creature. The tactical systems cannot formulate an effective strategy. But Danny noticed something else. While the quantum systems were confused, the mechanical regulators were still working perfectly. They were maintaining the robot's balance and coordination. Even as the quantum brain tried to analyze the unprecedented threat, Unit 7 grabbed the massive creature and tried to wrestle it to the ground. The two giants grappled in the dim eclipse light, neither able to gain a clear advantage. The creature's claws scraped against Unit 7's armor, while the robot tried to find a weak point in the creature's shell. The quantum processors are overloading, Lisa reported. They are trying to run too many calculations at once. Danny had an idea. Tell Unit 7 to stop thinking so much, he said. Tell it to trust its mechanical systems. What do you mean? Jake asked. The quantum brain is trying to solve the problem with pure calculation, Danny explained. But some problems cannot be solved by thinking. Sometimes you have to rely on instinct and reflexes. Jake relayed Danny's message to Unit 7. For a moment, the robot hesitated. Then something changed in the way it moved. Instead of calculated, precise movements, Unit 7 began fighting with fluid, instinctive actions. The robot ducked under the creature's claws and struck at its joints. It moved like a trained boxer, using leverage and timing instead of brute force. The mechanical regulators were allowing Unit 7 to fight like a living being instead of a programmed machine. Gradually, Unit 7 gained the upper hand. The robot found weak points in the creature's armor and exploited them with perfectly timed strikes. The massive creature began to slow down, its movements becoming clumsy and desperate. Finally, Unit 7 managed to grab the creature's head and twist it sharply to one side. There was a loud crack as something vital broke inside the creature's shell. The monster collapsed and did not move again. The eclipse storm was over. The remaining crawlers retreated back to their underground homes. Unit 7 stood victorious over the fallen giant, its armor scarred, but its systems still running perfectly. Danny smiled as he watched the robot walk back toward the colony. His simple mechanical repairs had not just fixed Unit 7. They had given it something new, the ability to improvise, the ability to solve problems that could not be calculated. The mechanic nobody believed in had created something extraordinary, a robot that could think like a computer and fight like a human. The morning after the eclipse storm, Danny Walsh found Unit 7 standing in the maintenance bay. The robot had returned on its own after the battle, just as it always did. But something was different this time. Unit 7 was not just standing. They're waiting for orders. It seemed to be thinking. "Good morning," Danny said as he approached the robot. Unit 7 turned its head toward him. "Good morning, Danny Walsh," the robot replied. "Thank you for the repairs." Danny stopped walking. In 5 years of service, Unit 7 had never thanked anyone for anything. The robot had always been polite but formal. This was the first time it had ever expressed what seemed like genuine gratitude. "You are welcome," Danny said. "How are you feeling?" "I am functioning at optimal levels," Unit 7 replied. "But I am also experiencing something new. The mechanical regulators you installed are creating unexpected interactions with my quantum processors." "What kind of interactions?" Danny asked. "I am able to process information in ways that were not part of my original programming," Unit 7 explained. "During the battle last night, I found myself making decisions based on what you might call intuition rather than pure calculation." Dr. Carter arrived with her scanning equipment. She had been studying Unit 7's performance data from the Eclipse storm battle. "This is remarkable," she said to Danny. "Your mechanical modifications have created a new form of artificial intelligence." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "The quantum processors handle logical thinking," Dr. Carter explained. "They can calculate millions of possibilities very quickly. But your mechanical regulators provide something different. They give the robot a sense of timing, balance, and physical intuition. Like the difference between book learning and experience," Danny said. "Exactly," Dr. Carter replied. "Unit 7 can now learn from doing things, not just from analyzing data. It can develop skills through practice, just like a human would." Word of Unit 7's enhanced abilities spread quickly through the colony. Scientists from other settlements began arriving to study Danny's work. Engineers from Earth sent messages asking for detailed reports. Everyone wanted to understand how a simple mechanic had created something that the galaxy's best scientists had been trying to achieve for decades. Jake Morrison called a colony meeting to recognize Danny's achievement. 800 people gathered in the main assembly hall. When Danny walked onto the stage, the entire crowd stood up and applauded. "Danny Walsh saved our colony," Jake announced. "But he did more than that. He has shown us that human creativity and alien technology can work together in ways we never imagined." The applause continued for several minutes. Danny felt embarrassed by all the attention. He had just been doing his job, fixing what was broken. He had not set out to revolutionize robotics or create a new form of artificial intelligence. After the ceremony, Danny returned to his workshop. He found Unit 7 waiting for him there. The robot had never visited Danny's workspace before. "I wanted to see where you work," Unit 7 explained. "I am curious about the tools and methods you used to repair me." Danny showed the robot around his workshop. He explained how each tool worked and what it was used for. Unit 7 listened carefully, asking questions about mechanical principles and repair techniques. "Why did you think you could fix me when the engineers could not?" Unit 7 asked. Danny thought about the question. "I guess I did not know I was supposed to fail," he said. "I saw a broken machine, and I knew how to fix broken machines. It did not matter to me that you were built by aliens." "The engineers saw quantum technology," Unit 7 said. "You saw a machine that needed repair." "That is right," Danny replied. "Sometimes the simplest way of looking at a problem is the best way." Over the following weeks, Danny began training other mechanics in his techniques. He taught them to look for mechanical solutions to technological problems. He showed them how to combine human engineering with alien technology. Remember, Danny told his students, all machines work on the same basic principles. Energy flows from one place to another. Moving parts do their jobs. Control systems keep everything working together. It does not matter if the machine was built by humans or aliens or anyone else. Unit 7 often attended these training sessions. The robot was fascinated by human mechanical thinking. It began helping Danny teach, explaining how the quantum systems worked and how they interfaced with the mechanical regulators. Your teacher has given me something valuable, Unit 7 told the students. He has given me the ability to understand problems with both calculation and intuition. This makes me more than just a computer with arms and legs. Danny's methods began to spread to other colonies and settlements. Engineers across human space started looking for ways to combine mechanical systems with advanced alien technology. The approach became known as hybrid engineering, using the best of both human and alien techniques. 6 months after the eclipse storm, Danny received a message from Earth. The Global Engineering Council wanted to offer him a position as chief of hybrid technology development. The job would make him one of the most important engineers in human space. Danny read the message twice, then deleted it. He had no interest in leaving New Denver or becoming famous. He had work to do right here, fixing machines and teaching others to do the same. Why did you turn down the offer? Jake Morrison asked when he heard about it. This is my home, Danny replied. These are my people. Unit 7 still needs maintenance, and there are always machines that need fixing. Unit 7 had become more than just the colony's guardian. The robot had become Danny's partner and friend. They worked together on projects around the colony, fixing everything from water pumps to mining equipment. I have learned something important from you, Unit 7 said one day as they repaired a broken atmospheric processor. Technology is not about being the most advanced or the most complex. It is about solving problems and helping people. That is right, Danny agreed. The best technology is technology that works when you need it. Other colonies began requesting Danny's help with their own robot guardians. Many settlements had architect machines that were failing or performing poorly. Danny and Unit 7 traveled to these places, sharing their knowledge and techniques. Each repair job taught Danny something new about the relationship between human and alien technology. He discovered that the architects had built their machines to be adaptable. They had expected future users to modify and improve their designs. The architects were not trying to build perfect machines, Danny explained to a group of engineers on the colony of New Texas. They were building machines that could grow and learn. They wanted their technology to evolve. This realization changed how humans approached architect technology. Instead of treating alien machines as untouchable relics, engineers began seeing them as starting points for further development. The combination of human mechanical intuition and architect quantum processing led to breakthroughs that neither species could have achieved alone. Danny's workshop became a place of pilgrimage for engineers from across human space. Young mechanics came to learn his techniques. Experienced engineers came to understand his philosophy. Even alien species began sending representatives to study human hybrid engineering methods. You have started something important, Dr. Carter told Danny during one of her visits. Your approach is changing how we think about technology itself. I just fix things, Danny replied, the same answer he had given years before. But I guess fixing things can change the world sometimes. Unit 7 continued to protect New Denver during every eclipse storm, but the robot's enhanced abilities meant that the creatures posed less of a threat than before. Unit 7 could predict their behavior, outmaneuver their attacks, and defeat them with minimal damage to itself or the colony. The robot also began helping with other colony functions. It assisted with construction projects, helped train human workers, and even entertained children with stories about its adventures. Unit 7 had become a true member of the community. "Do you ever miss being just a simple mechanic?" Jake Morrison asked Danny one evening as they watched Unit 7 playing with a group of children in the colony square. Danny thought about the question. His life had certainly become more complicated since he had repaired Unit 7, but it had also become more meaningful. He was not just fixing machines anymore. He was building bridges between different forms of intelligence and technology. "No," Danny said finally. "I am still a simple mechanic. I just have more interesting things to fix now." As the years passed, Danny's hybrid engineering techniques became standard practice throughout human space. New robots were built using combinations of human mechanical systems and alien quantum technology. These machines were more reliable, more adaptable, and more capable than either pure human or pure alien designs. Danny Walsh, the mechanic nobody had believed could fix the robot, had accidentally revolutionized the relationship between humanity and advanced technology. He had shown that sometimes the best way forward was not to replace the old with the new, but to find ways to make them work together. Unit 7 stood guard over New Denver for many more years, protecting the colonists. With abilities that no single species could have created alone,